hey, Valve are apparently releasing their own games console. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not. It was reported by The Verge. Now, it all kind of started when Gabe Newell mentioned hardware in an interview with somebody not so long ago. And now, apparently, The Verge have got sources that claim that Valve are in fact going to announce their own console. Specs are going around at a Core i7 processor, a 8GB of RAM, and it's an well, I don't know what it is yet, of course. This is all rumour and speculation, but it seems like it's going to be like an onboard GPU, like a kind of laptop-style mobile GPU, rather than a fully-fledged graphics processor, which you would have in the desktop, obviously due to the size. There's also rumours that the recent Alienware little gaming computer thing that they released is a prototype for it, because they might be releasing it to other manufacturers. There's all kinds of stuff. We'll get into it a little bit more in a minute. But first off, Dan, have you got the list of user comments up?
Yeah, I have indeed.
You have indeed. Would you like to take the first one? What does Andrew say?
Andrew Eldridge said, the listed specs are more powerful than my current laptop. I think it could be time for an upgrade.
Now, just before we go into these a bit more, the comments are kind of short and sweet this week. And they all vary quite differently in opinion. So Claire Cass, I think that's how you say it, says it depends if their philosophy will change. So far, everything console related means dumb down games to fit the limited controller, because they are also planning to release their own controller apparently. Not to mention to increase the viable audience, because you sell more games if the game isn't too hard. I hope it will not alter their stance on us PC gamers, and with Valve I have a decent hope it won't, but time will tell. Of course, time will also tell if the console market is actually waiting for yet another console. They'll have to be really special to pull it off, or else they'll be drowned out by the more popular consoles. What does Fodder say, Dan?
Fodder said, usually when something like this happens, it means bad things for PC gamers. Look at all the great franchises that started on PC, and now look at how many of them are console ports and or loaded with third-party DRM. If the Steam box does not distract Valve from making top-quality games and services for the PC gamer, then I could get behind a console from them. If Valve do the unthinkable and pull an IW on the PC community, then that would absolutely suck.
And then Aikido says, expensive. It will be expensive. Just the cost of an i7 will be ridiculous. And that's even more short and sweet than the first one.
It is indeed.
And then we have one more.
Yeah, from our resident common troll. He says, well, I bet anything made by Valve, so probably. Especially seeing as it sounds like it's a good spec. Do want very muchly. If you're wondering why I'll buy anything made by Valve, it's because they just deserve the money. They're one of the few companies left that treats their customers like people.
So, as I said, some varying opinions there. And it's all very kind of speculative at the moment, because we don't really know anything. But it seems the fact they're licensing it out to various manufacturers, and it seems like it could just be more of the Steam TV interface that we heard about before. Because the Alienware, I can't remember the model now, but the Alienware one that they released not so long ago, the small Alienware computer.
Oh, the X51.
I think it might be the X51.
Yeah, the one that's supposed to be based on the prototype.
Yeah.
That's $1,000.
Yeah. See, it's not going to be that cheap, and it is essentially just going to be a small computer. And so basically, there's a lot of questions to be answered, and nobody really has any answers. So I made a few notes of wanting to discuss a few different points, and really questions. I mean, if I could ask Valve questions, what would they be? So the first would be, who is it really for? Because it's going to be quite expensive with those specs, for sure.
Yeah.
So is it for the PC gamer that just wants an extra device? Is it for the console market, the current console market? Like, are they willing, like, trying to pull people away from their Xbox and PS3? We don't really know.
It's going to be hard for them to do that, because it is going to be pretty damn pricey.
It is, and that is the next question. What will it cost?
Unless they're prepared to take quite a significant loss on it.
This is the thing. If Valve are willing to subsidise the hardware to make the money back on games, much like Xbox and PS3 do, or around launch they do at least, then perhaps it could become quite competitive. And then that leads to the next question of what OS will it use, because obviously it's essentially just a PC, and the games on Steam currently are obviously PC games, mostly programmed to run using DirectX, which then requires Windows. So is it just going to be an interface on top of Windows, or is it going to be a new operating system from Steam that, but then it leads to the next question, which, I mean, they're all just questions at the moment. Will the games have to be ported to work on it, or will every Steam game just work on it because it might be Windows based? And also, the final question, if you buy a game on Steam, will it be the same for Steambox? Will you be able to play it on a PC and on that? Will it be a different SKU for the Steambox version? Not really leading anywhere with these questions, but they're all things that are kind of interesting to think about.
Would you want one?
See, I don't really know. See, what I would like, the way it is at the moment, if it's just a small PC with Windows and Steam on it, then I would probably just build my own small PC with Windows and Steam on it. However, if it's some kind of new OS that they're going to make available to manufacturers, what I would like most, if they made some sort of gaming OS that preferably, see that I'm going right down the wormhole here, even more than I did with Morgan Freeman the other night on that TV program. There was a lot of talk about Steam and porting games to Linux recently.
Yeah.
So, imagine if it's a version of Steam for Linux with a Linux operating system, which Steam then release openly for anybody to install on PC hardware. You could then build your own Steam box, use their hardware, and they're basically, all they've had to do is develop the software, and they're going to get their cut back the moment you start buying games. Imagine it. It would then. That would be I would brilliant. Be building a small media center type PC and installing the Steam OS on it, so to speak. And it would then be compatible with the game controller from Steam, and everything would work, and the games would all be ported. But then, if you take Windows out of the equation, are we then just going down the line of it is a console? Will it have to have set graphics requirements? Like, will we still get all the settings we get on a PC game? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Because these mobile GPUs are probably not going to be able to handle as much as they're definitely not going to be able to handle like a full desktop GPU. So, given the varying hardware that different manufacturers could come out with, are we going to end up with another Android kind of scenario where everything's all a bit kind of topsy-turvy and
cobbled together?
But that's also the good thing about Android. If it was a games console that's open and anybody can manufacture hardware and license the software from Steam or whatever, then you would be able to buy a really powerful console or a less powerful console, and if it ran the PC versions, you would be able to adjust the settings to match the hardware that was inside it, you know.
Yeah.
But we really don't know, because I think for Steam to do anything and sell a lot of them, they need their library of games on it, which basically means it's going to have to run Windows to some degree.
And it's going to have to be a reasonable price to be competitive.
Totally.
Unless people aren't going to look at it and think, well, actually the games are cheaper, I'll spend more on the console. They're just going to look at the price of the console. If it's more expensive than the next Xbox or PlayStation or Wii, and if it's significantly more expensive, they're going to forget that the games might be a bit cheaper.
They will.
So they won't buy it.
But then also, you've got to think about that, like you say, the price of the next PS3, because the way it is now, we quite easily think about a games console as costing £130 or something like to buy an Xbox. I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Whereas that wasn't the case when the Xbox 360 first came out. You know, it was a lot more expensive than that. So if they're lining it up with a new Xbox or a new PlayStation or something, then say maybe £500 doesn't suddenly seem so much money.
It does at the moment in this economic climate.
It does, but how much is a new Xbox going to cost realistically? Like,
I'd put it somewhere between 300 and 400.
so exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, 500 is not that much more. And if it was running like Linux or Windows as well,
Yeah.
the possibilities of what you can actually do with it are endless. So if they could make their controller navigate Windows also somehow, I don't know. We don't know, do we?
It's all conjecture.
Exactly. And like Common Troll saying in the chat room, people bought the PS3 when it was £500 because I think that was the release price, wasn't it? £499.
Yeah, it was ridiculously expensive.
And I think that they could get the price to about £500 with that current hardware, because if you look at a laptop, and when you think you're not going to need the screen or the speakers or any of that extra stuff, it's just going to be the actual, say, the laptop hardware as such, in like a custom housing, you know. So I think they could probably get it to 500. And like you say, if Valve are willing to kind of try and incentivize sales by losing a bit of money on the hardware at first, which basically all companies do with new products like that, I think it could become quite a competitor, because if they're doing that now, they're doing it at the right time, because the next console generation is about to come.
Yeah, I think E3, we're going to find out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, the new Xbox is going to be at E3, while the new PlayStation isn't.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see, because I wouldn't like to speculate on either of those happening, not happening, or even on this Valve thing happening. Now, see, what made me think it was a mobile GPU was an employee from Valve tweeted a picture of a
that box
small computer that he'd built. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
with the two aerials at the back.
Yeah, and it used one of the small like mini ITX motherboards or something, which have an onboard NVIDIA GPU. That's what it was using. And I mean, these onboard graphics are no slouches these days. Like, they're actually quite good. People might recall when I was talking about playing StarCraft and such using Intel integrated graphics, watching on like the i3. It's the Intel HD 3000 or something graphics. I was playing games quite fine on that. So when you look at NVIDIA onboard graphics and stuff nowadays, they're going to be better than that. So I don't see it as a problem, really. But yeah, man, I don't really know how to finish this topic up, because we quite simply don't know anything about it. It might not even exist.
It'd be... I don't know if I want it to exist. I kind of feel like I've got a Steam console in my computer.
Yeah. Now, see, that's what I'm saying, is by all they really... Is it just going to be this new TV interface, like some kind of incarnation of it, that they can boot straight into somehow?
Yeah, kind of like a gaming version
like
of Apple TV.
Like a skin on Windows as such, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because it's going to take an awful lot to get games off of DirectX from a PC version.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's... I don't know, man. We're just going to have to wait and see, aren't we? So that was really inconclusive. But,
interesting times.
It is interesting to see what happens, man. And kind of a bit cautious about it, because obviously I love my PC and I love Steam how it is now. Like, I don't want anything to be lost from what we have at the moment. I don't know if we will. We just don't know. But it's definitely one to watch, man, and it's definitely one to consider. But like I say, if I could build my own, then I'd want one. If you just go out and buy them off the shelf and they're just like an Xbox, then I probably wouldn't want one so much.
You know what I want it to have?
What do you want it to have?
I want it to have a red, like fire hose tap, like the valve. as the on-off switch. So you turn it to turn it on, turn it back the other way to turn it off. That would be awesome.
See,
I'd buy it
that's
if it
what
had
we're
that.
going to lose when it's made by if it's made by third-party manufacturers. You're not going to get that.
Well, no, but if they do the Valve one, or the
It'll
Steam
be like
box.
the Nexus of the Steam box world.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that super inconclusive note, I think we've just about wrapped up the show, man.
I think we have.
I think we